If you want to talk about, I want to hear about what you found out about the water, so we can talk about that, because it's nothing that needs voted on.
Well, I've talked to the plant manager at the mill. There's not gonna be an issue coming across their land. The bridge, if there's a new owner, may come into play down the road somewhere. We don't know that yet. There's three options that the mill's willing to help us with. Of course, the ones would take some work from the Army Corps of Engineers, fixing the Piedmont Dam, checking the line all the way down through. That's one option. The other is tied directly into Westernport's raw water. I'm waiting on a call back from Matt Ray from Westernport. If that's doable, if there's a charge, that can be taken care of in 8 hours. The piping the mill. I think they would fully fund that. But we still have to invest in a new pump. There's no way around getting the pump water up on the hill from the mill. It's not going to gravity feed. The third option, and I discussed this with him, putting a pump station right where the mill draws the water out. It's the exact same water we're using now. They give me a quote of a new pump station, a heated pump station,
Okay, nice.
right away, drop electric off the pole to the pump station, and 300 foot of line to tie into the current Piedmont line, right there on the mill property. They have a price on everything except the motor, and right now they're at $42,000. Your motor ain't gonna run you 10 grand. I think it's doable. I don't think the problem's gonna be the mill. I think the problem's gonna be this phone call in 2 minutes. Because they are hell-bent on, he told me if we do that, we gotta replace all the line from the mill all the way up on the hill, and your plant needs upgrades. I've requested a list of what upgrades it needs, haven't gotten it yet.
Have a good day.
Makes no sense to me.
Thanks.
They just upgraded some in 2016. My concern is right now, the mill pumps 78 million gallons a year up to the filter plant. We process no more than 15. So we don't need as big a line, we don't need as big a pump. What bothers me is, and I talked to Ben, asked if there was any discussion about needing that line replaced before the mill shut down. He said there was no discussion of that being bad. So why the hell's it bad now? That's what we're waiting to see. I'm anxious to hear Mr. Hype. I talked to him. He said they can't do that. They're going to have to come up with a better reason than that as why that's not feasible. And even if it runs 52,000, the mill's going to fund part of that. Now, I guess since this is publicly broadcast, I'm not going to say how much they'll fund until they do it. And I told him we would also need a legal document stating that they can't bother us on their land again. I know we have the one from 1901. I really don't want to get in a legal fight over a document 119 years old. But to me, that's doable. If they was willing to give us 1.8 million, if we need some upgrades, and give us the upgrades we need there, we keep our own water system. I can't believe all that would total more than 1.8 million. Plus it takes the 6 miles of line out of play coming down from Savage. You don't have to worry about maintaining it.
So it would be on the Potomac or the Savage?
This would be right on the Potomac.
So it's still Potomac water?
Yeah, it's still
And not the Savage water?
right,
Okay.
but it's the same place the mill pulls out of the river.
But I'm just saying that that's the
What
difference.
we're
We're
doing
still
right
not
now.
using our Savage water, we're still using the Potomac water.
Yeah.
That's my only question. Let me interrupt you, I just wanted to be clear.
Yeah, that's where we're at. They said they will not allow us to pull out anywhere below the mill because the whole river's contaminated, and no, it's not. They've tested water below the mill since this seepage. 100 yards downstream, it's okay, but The question is gonna be, what's this outfit gonna do?
But wouldn't we eventually lose our salvage water rights by not being on for so many years?
What's that?
Wouldn't we eventually lose our salvage water rights and not using it for so many years?
My understanding, and like I said, I've been in this 2 weeks, so it's trying to pick up as much as I can. The water line from Savage is actually bringing water down through a valve or through a blow off at
Right.
Frog Hollow.
That's what I heard.
See no reason to close that. But then again, you're maintaining land all the way down through there. Now, some of that land may change hands. If the mill goes to, they're selling 10,000 acres of non-paper making related land. Most of it's on Green Mountain. Part of it is up the upper end of Frog Hollow, which Moran's owns adjacent to it. Question is, if Moran's buys it, is there going to be an issue with the line on their land?
Because without the line, we don't have the water. I mean, we don't have the rights, or
What's that?
if we don't have rights on the with the pipeline, we don't have.
Yeah.
And we should already have those rights.
Yeah, we would have to get a permit
Yes. Hi.
to pull out of the Potomac. I don't know whether the
Speakers down.
permits are transferable.
Pam, I'm getting ready to put you on speaker. Okay.
Good new information though.
That's a good job.
Yeah, that's a lot more.
It's a lot to find out.
More stuff.
You still there?
Bill?
Yes.
You there?
Yeah.
Okay, we got Fred on the other line, and Terry's here.
Okay, guys, we don't have a quorum, but we would still like to hear what you have to say. Is that good?
Fred, you wanna start it out?
Yes, ma'am. The mayor, I did get a chance to speak with your water commissioner, and we discussed issues that we see with the raw water pumps and the continued use of any of the facilities there with the Verso raw water line and with their raw water pump station. A couple of things that we discussed that haven't changed is that the raw water line is in bad shape. You don't have casing under the railroad tracks, and the places where you all have had to fix already are just incredibly difficult to go back and repair between the railroad tracks under them. That presents all kinds of liabilities going forward, and the railroad should demand at any time that you go back and put in proper casing and the pipe that meets their specifications, because nothing in there now does. You also have the issue of the line being attached to the bridge that belongs to Verso, and at least as far as we know, there hasn't been any easements or agreements or rights-of-ways identified that actually give you all permission to have that pipe there. It's been in a long time, it's been in use a long time, but there's nothing that says that the town actually owns that. When we talk about utilizing the raw water pump station that Verso has now, that too presents some significant issues. I would be shocked if the company ultimately allows that to be titled to, because right in the middle of their operation. It's also far, far too big to be used for the amount of water that you all use. The plant that they have is almost 100 times bigger than yours. Their average output, as I understand it, or capability anyway, is about 10 million gallons day, and you guys are more in the 100,000 range or less. So it is way oversized, and it would require a lot of maintenance and modification to use for the amount of water that you all will need. The last thing is that you still need to have an upgrade to your water treatment plant. The health department identified that with the initial application, and we agree with them. There are modifications that need to be made to the plant that are going to cost over $1 million, and none of the agencies that we've spoken to, the health department, the IDEC, the USDA, are going to be willing to put money in to upgrade the plant to get it to where it needs to be. Those all present serious issues with using or keeping your facility in operation and using Verso facilities to get the raw water.
Could you tell me what some of the problems at the water plant are? We just had an upgrade a couple years ago.
Yes, ma'am. If you look at the preliminary engineering report, what we have in there evaluates the different pieces. Let me look. Right off the bat, the building that has its preliminary or sedimentation basin is full of mold. That needs to be totally replaced. Hang on just a second here.
Do you have a copy of that preliminary engineering report?
There's no mold.
Okay,
You said
what we're
mold.
looking at here
I've got one I can
is
send you.
the backwash
I've
pump
got
needs
it, I
to be
can send
They're
replaced.
not the
They
updated
got
one.
not the
The
most recent
existing
one.
clear well needs to be
But
modified,
it is the most
including that,
recent.
the building that's over top of it, the existing booster station needs to be modified or upgraded. The building is going to need the upgrades to the HVAC, to the electrical system. That wasn't upgraded before. There's no dehumidification in there. The telemetry system is going to have to be replaced. And again, you face a Bureau for Public Health that is dead set against that, and I think you're going to have serious issues with that. I agree with you, the decade is not long ago, but for whatever reason, a lot of these things weren't taken care of, and they need to be changed.
That don't make sense. We got an upgrade deal, so we still compliant.
Can you send me a copy of that preliminary engineering?
Be glad to. You guys should have one. If not, I'll get one out to you today.
Please do.
Terry, you got anything?
No, I don't have anything. I mean, I'm at a loss. I mean, I thought if you go back and do this, you're not going to get any grant funding. I just like to know who's going to pay for it.
If that mill wouldn't have shut down, was you gonna give grant money to replace them lines? I talked to the past water commissioner and asked if that was an issue prior, and he had no knowledge of any discussions. Now that the mill shut down, now they need replaced. That's confusing to me.
Once we got started looking at that, the initial look that we had was to get off of the Verso line and tie on to the Westernport line from their reservoir on the Savage River. That was a short-term arrangement with that. As we've had an opportunity to go through that
When was that?
That was last fall. And then when Westernport indicated that under no circumstances would they allow the connection to the raw water line, then we looked at the connection to the potable water system. But like we talked about on the telephone, the issue that you have with the building a new intake is that you've got some potential water quality problems down below that the dam in the mill or right at the mill, and you also have got a very shallow space there in the river. So putting a conventional intake in downstream of that dam means you're going to have perpetual maintenance on the facility. We have experience with municipalities that have the intakes on the shallow water that is non-stop maintenance to go. And you also have the issue with the permit from the Maryland DEQ, and that complicates the procedure with that. So you're looking at still spending an incredible sum of money to even get the raw water there, more than you would the connection to Westernport. And as Terry said, there's nobody, none of the public agencies here that are willing to front that money. It would all have to be borrowed.
So what happens if Westernport changes their position on raw water?
From what we have to build, not much, because of the, and I don't mean to be flippant with that, but you still have to have the line that goes under the river, and we would recommend replacing all the way to the plant, because the information that we had from your operators as well as from Ben was that the line is fragile and it had not been changed with any of your upgrades. So you've got an old pipe that's in there, and that has had breakage issues. So from the construction standpoint, that line coming across the river would need to be built in more or less the same fashion, whether it carries treated water or raw water. So that part of the construction doesn't change any.
One question I have is the IJDC said that they were giving the funding to us because that was the most feasible way to go. If we had a different way that was more feasible, they would still reject our funding.
Listen, you're looking at spending, the work that needs to be done on your plant is as expensive as the pipeline getting there. So in addition to the pipeline, you're still going to need to work on the plant. So from their point of view, there would be quite the expenditure, even if you could get the raw water there to the plant.
I'm just saying, the thing with us, our water is our livelihood in town. If we have to pay Westernport, what's going to keep us alive? You're saying if we don't do that, it's going to kill us. If we do that, it's going to kill us.
When you talk about that, as far as keeping you alive, I'm not sure that I follow what's being said there. Because the revenue mayor that comes off the water system can only be spent on the water system. It can't be spent on anything else.
I realize that.
So what kind of time frame you think you can get that done in?
Well, the plan right now is to, if this loan is closed or the design funding is closed, that we would go to work on the design right away. Then we have to get the permits from the railroad and the Corps of Engineers and from the state of Maryland. That's going to be into the fall. And then the bid letting would hopefully be this fall, and construction
So who's gonna give me water come July? Verso signed a contract with,
You off?
Verso signed a contract with Westernport. And they paid $75,000 towards the money they needed to get their project done. In return, they had to be off their water by July. Who's gonna give me water in July?
Now, when you talk about them coming off their water, that is for their fire suppression system. That's not their potable water system.
For whose potable water system?
The connection, at least as we understand, the connection between Verso and Westernport, the Westernport line is supplying Verso's fire suppression system, not its potable water plant.
No, but once the line from Westernport to the town of Luke is complete, that's gonna satisfy their contract. The mill is shutting their water system down. I have 5 union members in there still running that potable water system. They will be out of work come July. So who's gonna give us water starting in July?
I can't tell you that. Derek, can
I don't either. I'm lost. But you know, if you're gonna go switch to running your own plant, this will give you the water then.
Well, at some point in time, we need to get the right people in the room. And that means us, Westernport, you, or whoever, to make sure there's a plan moving forward. Because nobody knows what anybody else is doing, and in 4 months, I need to make sure we're getting water. Now, will we get it? I'm sure someone's gonna make them give us water, but it ain't gonna be for a good price. And this town can't afford any more increases. We got enough coming as it is. So at some point, we gotta sit down in the same room and come up with a plan.
we concur with that. We were at several meetings, Terry and myself and Ben met with some of the folks from Verso. I concur with that. I don't debate that for a minute.
I don't either. But if we're in the same room and we sit down and we come to a point on what's going to happen, we need to stick with it, and then in 2 weeks not be changed and doing something different.
I won't argue that point. Like I said, I'm 2 weeks into this position, trying to figure out which way we need to go, but Verso has changed their opinion themselves. That screws things up to begin with. Because they absolutely wanted us off their property, and now they're telling me that's not a big deal. Well, they gotta have the right people in the room too.
I believe the bigger deal than Verso is whether you got raw water from anywhere, you have a plant that needs a lot of work done. I don't believe any of the state agencies are going to fund any grants on, and it's going to have to be done by all alone. And they're already hollering about the rate increase that's going in now. You'll have one on top of what you have now.
Well, I'm gonna refrain until I see that preliminary report, so I can see exactly what upgrades need to be done. You say you're gonna send it out today?
Yes, sir. We will be glad to do that.
And
Just send it to Paula, she'll forward it to me.
let's do the one in the original one.
Sure. Let me just, Terry, it's probably 100 pages.
That's all right.
I'd be glad to try that, but I don't know that that's going to email well.
Okay.
Emailing 5 different emails.
Let me get with Teresa and see what we can do with that. It's glad to hard copy it and FedEx it up to you.
Appreciate that.
So that's,
I'm done talking to you.
Your question relative to what happens in July, I think first I was going to be in a box as far as completely cutting you off, but I think Terry raised a good issue too, and that is that once the process starts, it needs to be carried through to fruition because the difficulties of making a temporary connection are going to get or going to become real very quickly. You know, at the worst case, you could literally lay a line on the surface of the highway bridge coming into town with the yellow line pipe and make a temporary connection on the western port side and do some temporary things. That's going to be very clumsy and really spend money twice to get your issue resolved in the short term. And that would be whether you tap onto the western port raw water line or the potable water line. You know, when we initially were discussing that with Western Port, no more water than you all take out of or would take out of that line. The relative impact on the availability of water over on the Maryland side, with or without your use from that line, is negligible. That pipe is just plenty big enough to carry what you all have and be taken out of that pipe and never seen. But unfortunately, they control it and you don't. So that's a problem. The business with raw water facilities and everything, that even if you would borrow the funds to build or rehabilitate these and get clear title to the plant facility, is that the state, West Virginia Bureau for Public Health, is going to have an opportunity and demand that they review that and issue a permit for it. And that's going to get clumsy and time consuming if you're at odds with them. We get to argue with the agencies on a regular basis, but the problem that exists here with Piedmont is that you all are also up against a wall with time. So let us email this to you, see what you think, and then we'd be glad to come up for a meeting, but the monies are available to get the design started and to do the construction. The grant dollars, it's not going to cost you all anything for that. And those offers all have fairly short lives to them, particularly the construction funds from the Economic Development Administration of the U.S. EDA. Those funds won't sit on the table very long.
Well, Westernport's having issues right now with their water. So when we get on it, is that going to double their issues? Is there going to be bigger problems? That's what we're worried about right now, hearing all the issues they're having with their water right now.
They say you're not a customer. You're just
What
buying
exactly,
water.
what kind of issues, Mayor, are they having?
They're having dirty water, crystals in their water, the water line to horse rock's not running right. They're just having all kind of issues over there right now. People's been going to the meetings complaining that things are being ruined in their homes because of crystals and muddy water running through their lines. And we're not even on the system yet. Is that going to create a bigger problem and they're going to charge us more money because they're having their own problems?
That I can tell you, but I am surprised, given the way that Maryland regulates, that those are problems that they won't be able to solve. We have reached out and we'll follow up this afternoon and see what we can find there.
Okay.
That's all I got.
You got anything else?
I don't have anything.
I think we're good with that, and if you'd like to meet, we'd be glad to do that. But
That's 72.
Huh? Oh, you doing this right here?
As far as all
I'm doing the 72,
have got room in our schedule now.
26. Already paid the other one.
Oh, you did?
Yes.
All right, 7226, okay.
As far as I know, you can double check.
That we will need to schedule here this spring too.
26. I can look it up.
So the task going forward really needs to be laid out pretty quickly.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, and we're going to give the grant money back, we need to be able to tell those people.
Okay. We're not to that point.
Yeah, I mean, because there's a lot of people put a lot of necks on the line to get that money.
Okay.
We will get that report emailed up.
All right.
Thank you.
So can you email that up, and then once you look at it, give us a call, and Fred and myself will be there, or we'll do another call, or do whatever we got to do to keep things going.
Okay, thank you. Bye.
Bye.
They forget to mention 40 years of income from the water.
What's that?
He forgets to mention the cost of the 40 years that we pay to Westernport for our water.
Yeah.
That he says all these millions now. Well, it's millions and millions and millions.
The only legit things I heard about the water plant is
This
the
one.
backwash
You're okay?
pump
Yeah, yeah.
and
I'm just
Alright.
giving you this
the
one.
actual
Okay, that'll
structure to the clear well outside. That's it. There's no mold in our safe
Yes,
basin
get
room.
rid of this.
There's
Okay.
no.
Get rid of this.
Why do we
Alright.
need a humidifier? Why do
Now,
we
let me
need
check.
HVAC
No, no.
up there?
This
Why do
one
we
yours.
need? You know what I
Okay.
mean?
A humidifier in a water plant.
It was dehumidifier
Yeah.
they were missing.
Well, yeah, something like
They needed
yeah.
a
There you
I
go.
was like, man,
No, dehumidifier. Those aren't that expensive. Dehumidifier.
Yeah, well, we don't even need one. Like, the water plant's fine. Telemetry, we have brand new
I
telemetry
knew
equipment
that
up
was
there.
new.
Thank you so
All
much.
They
right.
want to stick that plan and that's it. They just want to stick it to you and force you and threaten you to do it.
So we'll study that preliminary engineering report. We should have a
You
little
should tell them about the black and blue
study
hole.
meeting at
yeah.
some point.
About the blue hole.
Well, like I said, we got to get the
There's
right
one
people
other
to do
option
We do.
though. that-
What they used to draw from, before they went up to the Savage Dam, they used to draw from the blue hole, the deep hole, which right at the wood
And
yard.
Ernie went and looked at that.
And that's, the old deed describes it just going to that far. And it's a deep, that's a place, that would be as legitimate a place to put an intake as any, and that's only a mile from where we're at, that would be short.
Well, first of all, the pump at the intake that they're using ain't in the middle of the plant. It's right on the edge of the plant. They was giving us right away that we could get to that anytime we want.
Why didn't they fix those lines before?
That's what I say.
Well,
What
but they
bothers
had
me
it.
is there was no discussion about line repair until we get
There's
into
no
where we're gonna get our
health
water
concerns
from. If the lines were bad, we're using them now,
Yep.
right? And if we do it again, we're gonna have to use them. I don't care if it's even a temporary fix. If the mill's gonna pay half of it, that's a $20,000 temporary fix. And then you have time to do it, because you're still a year out from what he's saying. Right? Isn't that what he said?
We gotta work quickly.
Our
about
attorneys
this.
should be fighting for us. For Septo, they should be fighting and saying, you guys wanna keep your water, we're gonna do everything we can, we don't care what they say, we're gonna fight them, that's what you got attorneys for.
I just see a train wreck coming down the road.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll see you get that report for me too.
Okay, that works.